Cancer. I want you to sit with me for a moment before we begin, because this reading today is touching something that most people never talk about openly. Something that exists in the shadows of family, in the hidden spaces between people who are supposed to love each other, but sometimes carry a very different energy toward you instead. What's coming through before I even touch these cards is this sense of heaviness that has followed you. Not the kind of heaviness that comes from your own choices or your own struggles. This feels more like something that was placed on you, layered onto your life from the outside, from someone who knows you closely enough to know exactly where to aim. And that closeness is what makes this particular situation so painful and so complex to untangle. I want to be clear that this is a general reading for entertainment purposes. I'm interpreting the energy I see in the cards and what I'm picking up from this collective Cancer field today. Take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't. This isn't meant to replace any kind of professional advice. What I can tell you is that the energy surrounding this reading feels like a turning point. Something that has been operating in the background of your life, quietly draining your momentum and dimming your light, is in the process of being dismantled. And the person responsible for placing that weight on you is beginning to feel the full weight of what they chose to do. What strikes me deeply about this energy is that you have carried this without fully understanding why certain doors felt heavier to open, why certain efforts never quite landed the way they should have, why your life sometimes felt like you were walking through water while everyone else moved freely. That confusion is about to make complete sense. Let me pull the first card and show you exactly what I'm seeing. I'm sitting here shuffling these cards, really settling into your energy, Cancer, and suddenly one card jumped straight out of the deck and landed face up in front of me. And I can already see exactly what it is. I'm going to set this jumper card aside for just a moment and reach for two more cards from the top of the deck. Now, I'm turning all three face up together. Let me just take a moment here. I want to make sure I'm seeing this correctly before I say anything. Okay, I'm looking at all three of these cards right now and I'm ready to read them for you. Cancer, the Six of Swords, the Six of Wands, and the Queen of Wands. And Cancer, the moment I saw these three cards together, I felt something shift in this reading because look at what we have here. The Six of Swords is your story. The slow and painful movement away from something that has been dragging you down for a very long time. The Six of Wands is the proof that even through all of that, you have not been completely defeated. There were moments where your light still broke through. And then the Queen of Wands sitting right there between these two energies is the answer to everything. She is the reason the Six of Swords was even necessary in the first place. She is the woman who made your journey this heavy. And now all three cards are on the table together. And her role in your story is no longer hidden. Let me start with the Six of Swords because this is the card that jumped out of the deck on its own. And that tells me everything about how urgent this message is for you right now. Cancer, when I look at this card, I see a figure sitting in a boat being fed across dark water toward calmer shores. There are six swords standing upright in the boat. And what strikes me is that those swords are not being left behind. They are coming along for the journey. And that detail matters because this is not a story about someone who has escaped cleanly. This is a story about someone who is moving forward while still carrying the weight of everything that happened to them. What I'm picking up here is that you have been living under something heavy for longer than you perhaps realize. There is this sense that your life has felt like wading through resistance, like invisible hands pulling at your ankles every time you tried to move forward. And the most painful part of this is that you could never quite explain why. You worked hard, you showed up, you tried, but something kept the results just slightly out of reach, and that something was not coming from inside you. It was being directed at you from someone within your own family circle, someone close enough to know exactly which threads of your life to pull at. The Six of Swords tells me that the crossing has already begun. The boat has left the shore where that darkness lived, and it cannot go back. The waters ahead are calmer, and while you are still carrying those swords, still feeling the echoes of what was placed on you, the direction has permanently changed. The chains of what was done to you are beginning to loosen, Cancer. And this card is the first confirmation of that truth. And what I find really significant about this card appearing as the jumper is that it chose to reveal itself before anything else. It did not wait to be pulled. It did not wait for permission. It forced its way out of the deck because this message of movement and liberation needed to be the foundation of everything we are about to see together. The Six of Swords is essentially saying that no matter what the remaining cards reveal about what was done to you, about who did it and why, the outcome has already been decided. You are already in the boat. Cancer, you are already moving, and nothing she does from this point forward can stop that crossing. Now, let me move to the Six of Wands. And I have to say, this card genuinely surprised me when it landed here because after everything, the Six of Swords just revealed about the weight you have been carrying, about the invisible resistance that has been working against you. The Six of Wands shows up and says something remarkable. It says that even through all of that, you still won sometimes. There were moments where you stood in the light and were recognized, moments where your efforts broke through the surface, despite everything that was pushing against them. And that is not a small thing, Cancer. That is actually extraordinary. This is a card of victory and public recognition, and its presence here is deeply significant. What it is telling me is that the energy placed on you was never able to fully extinguish what you carry inside. She tried. She directed that darkness toward you with intention and with knowledge of your vulnerabilities. But your own inner foundation, that deep Cancer resilience that is almost impossible to completely break, kept pushing back through the cracks. What I'm sensing here is that those moments of success you experienced, however small they may have felt at the time, were actually your spiritual protection still functioning underneath everything she layered onto your life. The light in you refused to go completely dark. And that refusal, that quiet, stubborn refusal to be fully defeated, is exactly what began to unravel her plan from the inside out. And now we arrive at the Queen of Wands. And Cancer, this is the card that I need you to really sit with because this is her. This is the woman in your family who has been directing this energy toward you. And the cards have placed her portrait right here in this reading with a clarity that I find remarkable. The Queen of Wands is not a weak person. She is not someone who operates from a place of powerlessness. This is a woman who is magnetic, who draws people toward her naturally, who has the kind of presence that fills a room and commands attention without even trying. And that is precisely what makes her so dangerous in this context. Because when someone with this level of natural power and influence decides to turn that energy against a member of their own family, the damage they can cause is not ordinary. It is layered. It is strategic, and it is very difficult to trace back to its source. What I'm picking up about this woman is that her hatred towards you did not come from nowhere. It came from seeing something in you that she could not control or diminish through normal means. Your growth, your potential, the way your life was beginning to expand in directions that threatened the dynamic she needed to maintain within the family. That is what triggered her. And instead of examining that reaction within herself, she chose to act on it in the darkest way she knew how. She used her knowledge of you, the intimate family knowledge of your fears, your soft spots, your dreams as the map for where to aim. And she did it while maintaining the appearance of someone who belongs at the center of family life. That performance, that careful maintenance of a respectable image while operating in shadow is the most chilling aspect of what the Queen of Wands is revealing here. But Cancer, she is on the table now, fully visible, and what is seen cannot be unseen. And I want you to notice something about where this card sits in the reading. It came third, right after the Six of Swords and the Six of Wands. The card showed you your journey first, showed you your resilience first before revealing her identity, as if to remind you that your story was never defined by what she did to you. She was only ever a chapter, not the whole book. Okay, Cancer, we have looked at these first three cards together, And I can feel the energy of this reading building in a very specific direction. There is so much more that wants to come through here, so much more of this story that still needs to be told. I want to keep going because I feel like we are only just scratching the surface of what happened, and more importantly, what is happening to her right now as a result of what she chose to do. Let me reach into the deck and pull three more cards: the Page of Wands, the Ace of Swords, and the Seven of Pentacles. And Cancer, these three cards together just took this reading to a completely different level, because look at what we have here. The Page of Wands is telling me that something is being revealed. Information is coming to light. The truth about what she did is starting to move. The Ace of Swords sitting right next to it is the moment that truth cuts through everything clean and absolute. The kind of clarity that cannot be argued with or manipulated away. And then the Seven of Pentacles is karma doing its accounting. Every seed she planted against you, every dark intention she invested into harming your life is now being tallied. And the harvest coming her way is unavoidable. She planted far more than she ever anticipated reaping. The Page of Wands appears here, and what immediately strikes me is the energy of revelation and momentum that this card carries into the reading. The Page is a messenger, someone young in spirit, if not in age, who moves quickly and speaks without filters. And in this context, what I'm picking up is that the truth about what this woman did is no longer contained. It is moving. It is finding its way through channels she did not anticipate and reaching people she did not want it to reach. What I'm sensing here is that there is either a person, possibly someone younger in your family or social circle, who has begun to see through her carefully maintained facade, or there is information surfacing through unexpected means that is starting to paint a very different picture of who she really is behind closed doors. Either way, the secrecy that protected her actions for so long is developing cracks that she cannot patch fast enough. But there is a second layer to this card that I find deeply moving, and that is what it says about you, Cancer. The Page of Wands also carries the energy of reawakening of a spark that refused to be permanently extinguished, returning to full flame. After years of feeling blocked and suppressed by what she placed on you, something fresh and alive is stirring within you again. Your curiosity, your enthusiasm for your own life, your sense of possibility, all of it is beginning to come back online. And that reawakening is directly connected to the chains loosening. Because when the curse begins to break, the person underneath it begins to remember who they actually are. And now the Ace of Swords. And Cancer, I need you to really hear this. This is the most powerful card for breaking what was placed on you. The Ace of Swords is a blade of pure truth, cutting downward through every layer of darkness, every knot of intention, every thread of what she wove into your life with such deliberate cruelty. This is not a gentle unraveling. This is a severing, clean, complete, and permanent. What I'm picking up with this card is that there is a moment either already happening or approaching very quickly where everything becomes crystal clear, where you suddenly understand with absolute certainty what was done to you, how it was done, and why your life felt the way it did for so long. That clarity is itself the weapon that destroys what she built. Because witchcraft of this nature operates in shadow and confusion. It needs you to doubt yourself, to question your own perception, to never quite put your finger on the source of your struggles. The Ace of Swords takes all of that away from her in one stroke. The Seven of Pentacles arrives here. And I want you to understand what this card is doing in this specific position in the reading. This is the card of harvest, of looking at what has grown from the seeds that were planted. And in this context, it is working on two completely separate levels simultaneously. And both of them are deeply significant to your story, Cancer. The first level is about you. Even during the years when something dark was operating against your life, even when doors felt inexplicably heavy and your efforts seemed to disappear into a void, you kept going. You kept planting. You kept showing up for your own life despite not understanding why the returns felt so slow and so small. And what the Seven of Pentacles is telling me now is that none of that was wasted. Those seeds you planted in difficult soil are still there, still growing, and now that the interference is being removed, they are finally able to reach toward the light the way they were always meant to. The second level is about her. And this is where karma enters this reading with a quiet but unmistakable presence. Everything she invested into harming you, every ritual, every dark intention, every carefully directed effort to suppress your growth and poison your path, those were also seeds. She planted them with her own hands into the soil of her own life without fully understanding that. And the Seven of Pentacles is telling me that her harvest is now arriving, not in some distant future. The accounting is happening right now. And what is growing from what she planted looks nothing like what she imagined when she began. Cancer, I have to tell you that the energy in this reading is shifting in a very powerful way right now. What started as a story about what was placed on you is becoming something else entirely. It is becoming a story about what is being returned to her. And I can feel that energy intensifying with every card that comes forward. There is still so much more that wants to be revealed here, and I feel like the cards are not done talking yet. Let me pull three more from the deck. The King of Swords, the Chariot, and the Tea of Wands. And Cancer, these three cards together are telling me that we have just moved into the consequence chapter of this story. The King of Swords is the judgment being handed down. The Chariot is the unstoppable force of karma moving forward with absolute precision. And the Ten of Wands is what she is left holding when that judgment arrives and that force hits her. This is what happened to her, and it is heavier than anything she ever placed on you. The King of Swords arrives, and the energy in this reading shifts into something colder and more precise than anything we have seen so far. This is not an emotional energy. This is not the kind of justice that comes with tears or speeches or dramatic confrontations. The King of Swords is the energy of absolute clarity and absolute accountability. And it operates with the kind of detached precision that leaves no room for manipulation or excuse. What I'm picking up here is that the forces now moving against her are not ones she can charm her way out of. And that is significant because the Queen of Wands energy we saw earlier, that magnetic ability to draw people in and maintain a favorable impression, that has always been her greatest protection. She has survived by making people like her, trust her, believe her version of events. But the King of Swords does not operate on charm. He operates on evidence, on truth, on the cold, hard record of what actually happened. What this could look like in practical terms is a situation where someone with authority, whether that is a person, an institution, or simply the undeniable weight of accumulated truth, is now seeing her clearly for the first time. The mask that protected her for so long is being removed not by emotion, but by fact. And she has no defense against that because facts do not bend to her will the way people sometimes do. The King of Swords in this position is karma, wearing its most formal and unforgiving face, and it has her full name and her full record in its hands. And what makes this particularly devastating for her psychologically is that the King of Swords represents the kind of judgment that bypasses every emotional defense she has spent years carefully constructing around herself. The Chariot arrives, and I feel this card like a physical force in the reading because the Chariot is not a subtle energy. It is forward momentum that cannot be reasoned with, bargained with, or redirected once it has locked onto its destination. And in this position, sitting right after the King of Swords has handed down its judgment, the Chariot is the execution of that judgment moving forward with absolute inevitability. What I'm picking up here is a two-sided story within this single card. On your side, Cancer, the Chariot is the moment you take back the reins of your own life. After years of feeling like something outside of you was steering your path, making your journey harder than it needed to be, you are now the one holding the reins. Your will, your direction, your choices are no longer being interfered with by her energy. The road ahead belongs to you completely. But on her side, The Chariot tells a very different story. The same unstoppable force that is propelling you forward is the force of karma that is now bearing down on her. And unlike you, she is not in the driver's seat of what is coming. She is standing in the path of it. Everything she set in motion against you created a momentum of its own. And that momentum has turned around and is now moving in her direction with the same relentless energy she originally aimed at you. What she sent out into the world with such confidence is returning to her now with equal force and equal intention. And now, the Ten of Wands. In Cancer, this is the card that answers the question at the heart of this entire reading. This is what happened to her. The Ten of Wands is one of the most viscerally heavy cards in the entire deck. It carries the energy of someone bent almost completely forward under a burden so overwhelming that simply remaining upright has become the only goal. There is no strategy left, no manipulation left, no performance left. There is only the crushing weight of everything that has accumulated and the devastating realization that there is no one coming to help carry it. What I'm picking up here is that the woman who directed so much dark energy toward you, who invested so much of her own power and knowledge into suppressing your life, is now experiencing a collapse that touches every area of her existence simultaneously. And this is the part I want you to really understand. Cancer. The Ten of Wands is not showing me that something bad happened to her from the outside. It is showing me that she is being crushed by the weight of her own actions returning to her. Every bundle of dark intention she sent out, every ritual she performed against you, every prayer she directed at your destruction, she is now carrying all of it back on her own shoulders. In practical terms, this could look like relationships fracturing around her. The social network she carefully maintained beginning to pull away as the truth of her character becomes harder to conceal. It could look like health challenges that seem to come from nowhere. The kind of physical heaviness that happens when spiritual and psychological burdens become too great for the body to absorb quietly. It could look like financial strain, like opportunities disappearing, like the life she constructed around her image beginning to show structural cracks that she cannot repair fast enough before people notice. The psychological dimension of this card is particularly significant because the Ten of Wands also shows me a mind that cannot rest. She is carrying not just the external consequences of what she did, but the internal knowledge of it. And that internal knowledge, the awareness of what she chose to do to a member of her own family, is perhaps the heaviest bundle of all. There is no one she can confess this to. There is no relief available to her through normal means. She built this burden herself, bundle by bundle, and now she carries it completely alone. In Cancer, while I want you to hear this clearly, I also want you to notice what this card does not show. It does not show you standing there watching her struggle. You are not in this image at all because your story has already moved forward, and her collapse is simply the echo of what she set in motion, playing out exactly as karma intended. I have always believed that the most exhausting thing a person can do in this lifetime is carry the weight of harm they deliberately chose to cause to someone who never deserved it, because that particular weight never gets lighter. It only compounds with time. Cancer, we have one final card left in this reading, and I want to take a moment before I pull it because I can feel the weight of everything we have uncovered together today. The Six of Swords showed us your crossing. The Six of Wands showed us your resilience. The Queen of Wands revealed her identity. The Page of Wands brought the truth into motion. The Ace of Swords severed the chains. The Seven of Pentacles tallied the harvest. The King of Swords delivered the judgment. The Chariot made it unstoppable. And the Tea of Wands showed us exactly what she is now carrying. There is one more card that wants to speak to you today, Cancer, and I am going to fan the entire deck out and let my hand find it. The Four of Wands. And Cancer, I have to tell you, when this card landed here as the final card of this entire reading, I felt something genuinely release in the energy. Because after everything we have walked through together today, after all of the heaviness and revelation and the weight of what was done to you, this is where the cards chose to leave you. And it could not be more perfect. The Four of Wands is a card of celebration, of homecoming, of standing beneath an open sky with the feeling that you have finally arrived somewhere safe. It carries the energy of a threshold being crossed, of a chapter closing so completely that what comes next has an entirely different quality to it. And in this context, what I'm picking up is that this card is not just describing a moment in time. It is describing a state of being that is becoming available to you now, that what was placed on you is losing its hold. What this looks like in your life, Cancer, is a gradual but unmistakable lightening. Things that felt impossibly heavy beginning to feel manageable. Opportunities that seem to always slip just out of reach starting to land. Relationships that carry genuine warmth and safety becoming more present. The feeling of being at home in your own life, in your own skin, in your own story, returning in a way that feels both new and deeply familiar at the same time. And the most powerful thing about the Four of Wands appearing here is what it says about the permanence of this shift. This is not a temporary reprieve. This is not a brief window before things get heavy again. The foundation being built beneath you right now, the one that is emerging as her chains fall away, is solid. It is yours, and it was always meant for you. What she tried to prevent by placing those chains on you in the first place is the very thing that is now being handed to you completely and permanently, and there is nothing she can do to stop it. Cancer. We looked at something real today, something that most people carry in silence because they do not have the words for it or because the source of it is someone they were supposed to be able to trust. What I want you to take away from everything these 10 cards revealed is this: you were not imagining it. The heaviness was real. The resistance was real. The feeling that something invisible was working against you was not a product of your own limitations or your own fears. Something was placed on you by someone who should have celebrated you instead. And you carried it with a grace and a stubbornness that honestly moves me. But here is what I need you to really hear. You made it through. Not because you were lucky, not because circumstances happened to shift in your favor. You made it through because something inside you refused to be completely extinguished. That quiet refusal, that deeply Cancer determination to keep going even when nothing made sense, is what ultimately broke the chain. She underestimated you, and that underestimation became her undoing. As for her, the cards have shown us clearly what is unfolding in her world right now. And I think the most important thing I can say about that is simply this: it is not your burden to carry anymore. Not her consequences, not her collapse, not her story. Your only job now is to walk through that Four of Wands gateway and build the life that was always waiting for you on the other side. And from everything I saw in these cards today, Cancer, that life is already yours. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Cancer. I will see you soon.